if a sukkah, if the schach is very thick, and the Mishnah says if it's very thick like a house, it is still kosher. And it's a different, it's hamuva kamin bayit. It says if it's thick like a house, even though you don't see the stars, it says it's kosher. So the Shulchan Aruch says the way of schach, it seems that the normal way of a sukkah, which is made in a way, is that you should be able to see big stars, meaning stars that appear during the daytime. Before sunset. That's a type. It's a type of usually a sukkah is made in a way that you should be able to see those stars. And in the Achronim, the later authorities write, I'm reading from the Mishnah Berurah from the Chafetz Chaim, that really even at night you should be able to see the night stars. Lechatchila. That means she made in a way that you look up, you could be able to see some stars. And he brings from the Darkei Moshe, in the name of the Maharil, that you're allowed to go ahead and use a lot of schach, because it's impossible that you won't see stars. Even though at night you don't see the stars, but in the daytime, there's holes and cracks in many places. And the Sefer Bikuri Yaakov said, if you're lenient like that opinion, you didn't lose anything. Meaning to say, it seems to be a discussion here about if you don't see the stars at night, is that good enough that you're going to see the definitely cracks that you'll be able to notice by day? Good morning, Mr. Silverman. Morning. Good. How are you, Mr. Silverman? Good to see you back.
Good to see you, Rabbi. Thank you.
We miss you.
We miss you. Same here, Rabbi. Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach. Now, he brings from the Pri Megadim, the Chafetz Chaim brings from the Pri Megadim. You see, first he says from the Bikuri Yaakov, if you're going to be lenient to have it, to make it very thick, in a situation that if you're concerned that if you're going to make the schach thin, the wind will blow it away. There'll be, or not the wind will blow away. There'll be a lot of wind coming into the sukkah because there's not too much schach, and you're going to feel very discomfort, and you'll be very cold. So that will be a reason why to maybe be lenient with that type of opinion, to say to make a lot of schach, even if the schach is very thick, that you wouldn't see stars at night, but you'll be able to see stars by day. Now the Pri Megadim says that it's possible that regarding seeing stars, it's enough that as long as you see stars in one place in the sukkah, that might be good enough. You don't have to see in every place of the sukkah. Again, that's a possibility, he says. He doesn't say, clearly, but if you would be so thick, there is an opinion that if it's so thick that rain can't go inside, there is an opinion that says that the sukkah is not kosher. According to the opinion that says that be invalid. So if you have 4 tefachim, so if you hold that if the rain can't come into the sukkah, it's an invalid sukkah. So if you have 4 tefachim, let's say the 4 tefachim will be 12 to 16 inches together of schach that rain can't come through, that would be considered that's schach pasul. That would be considered invalid schach.
There's where it's considered kosher. You said 3 to 4
I'm saying he's saying like this: if you have 3 tvachim going this way, if you have 3 tvachim of schach, let's say 9 to 12 inches by 9 to 12 inches of schach. We're not talking about now the thickness of the schach. Morning, Mr. Haber. I'm saying we're talking about, yes, we're talking about the thickness of schach in the idea that if you have 3 to 4 tvachim of very thick schach, that's for you, Mr. Haber. Yeah, it might not be so hot. If you have 3 to 4 tvachim of schach that's so thick that rain can't go in, that would be, according to that opinion, that would be a big problem. Okay, we're about to start the Mishnah. Yes. Yes.
So it's about like
We have to do it both
above
because
it,
obviously, if the schach is very thick, that might prevent many rain from coming in. If you make schach that's so thick that rain can't come in, that rain won't come in. So there are those that say that sukkah would be invalid. There are opinions that say that the schach, and obviously if it will be a type of material, even if it's very thin material, if whatever material you're using for the sukkah, for the schach, usually the common thing is the more thicker it is, if you lay on so many layers of schach that rain won't come in, that would make the sukkah, according to some opinion, will say the sukkah is not kosher because the rain has to be able to come in, or else it resembles too much of a house. According to that opinion that says that the sukkah would be invalid. But what he's saying is that if you have a small spot, let's say max, you have, let's say, a few inches that it's very thick. So we said that technically you could get up to 4 tvachim of not kosher schach in a sukkah. As long as it's not, we're not talking about if you have up to 4 tvachim of not kosher schach, it wouldn't cut the sukkah in half. And it wouldn't, it wouldn't cause a major problem. So technically, if you have 12 to 16 inches of schach wide, that rain doesn't come in, you have such a significant, you have a nice spot on the sukkah that rain doesn't come in, then you're getting into an issue that maybe I can't sit under that spot of the sukkah. But if it's less than 12 to 16 inches of schach that rain can't come in, that will not be a major issue for the sukkah. That's what he's saying. Morning, Mr. Bitesh. Okay, we're about to begin. Mr. Bitesh is here, so we're about to begin the new Mishnah. Now we're ready to roll on the Mishnah Achaf Beis Amud Beis 22b. And as we said, this is the place to be. 22b 3. Okay. Sukkah. Now, by the way, if you look at some pictures, there are certain people in the Sukkah, they decorate the Sukkah with certain pictures. They have pictures of the Mishnayot of Masechah Sukkah. And here come some of the pictures that they have that are very unique pictures. A sukkah on top of a wagon, a sukkah on top of a boat, a sukkah in a tree. These make some of the nice pictures that you'll see in some of the Sukkah pictures. Sukkot, everyone has it? Mr. Haber, 22b. That's what the Gemara is going to talk about. 22b 3. If someone makes a sukkah on top of a wagon, or he made it on the top of a boat. So what's the status with that sukkah? I mean, it's not on the ground, it's on the boat. It's not on the ground, it's in the wagon. So we say kshera, the sukkah is kosher. even though a wagon is a mobile unit, a wagon could travel, and a boat could travel. I think you might even see some of the Chabad people have these sukkot. They might have sukkah on a truck, and right, you see some of that, and that's based on this Mishnah right over here. What? Lubavitch. So because it says that even, and there's a chidush, the novelty here is that even though it is movable, it's a type of movable item, and also that's a story by the wagon has the ability to move, and the sukkah that's on top of the boat, it's common that a wind could come, but we're going to see a little bit more. We're going to discuss about the wind a little later, but we say that it's still considered a kosher sukkah. So even though it's not so set, it's not, it doesn't resemble a house, and where a house is much more set than having something that's a mobile unit, but we still say that that's still kosher for a sukkah. And the Mishnah says, you could go in it, you could go into this wagon on Yom Tov. Obviously, it's not a wagon that you're driving with, that animals are driving. You can't do that on Yom Tov. Having an animals working for you on Yom Tov, animals driving you. So, but the wagon is stationed, it's parked. Similarly, the boat is docked. You have a boat that's docked, and now you want to go onto the boat on Yom Tov to use that for the mitzvah of Sukkah. They dock the boat.
A lot of us used to come join for a night and drive the truck and then come up.
And people go onto the truck and sit in the Sukkah. So that's what the Mishnah said. If the boat is anchored, you could go onto the boat. Barosh Ilan, what about if the sukkah is the top of the tree? You went ahead and you made a sukkah on the top of the tree. If you look at the picture, the article on 22b3 on the right, you see the tree and you see the sukkah. 22b3. You see the sukkah in the picture? Max, you want to see if Mr. Haber has the proper place? Yeah. So you got the sukkah in the tree. So now the question is, what is, first of all, question one, is it a kosher sukkah? So the Mishnah states, it's a kosher sukkah. B'roshi ilan, o al gabe gamal. You went ahead and you made a sukkah on top of a camel. You made the sukkah on top of the camel. You surrounded the hump of the camel with a sukkah. And that's a real chidush, right? The camel is really on the move, right? The camel is like our truck today. So you go ahead and watch the law. You make shira, the sukkah is kosher, but the ain olala b'yom. But here, in contrast to the boat that's docked, and the contrast to the wagon that's docked, that's tied, that's stationary. But the tree, you can't climb up a tree on Yom Tov. Mr. Bitesh was asking, how do you get up there? So you're a tomboy, or whatever. No, not tomboy. Whatever. You're an athletic person. Yeah, mine was a girl, right? You're athletic. And you're able to climb up the tree, or you go, so you can't go up the tree. Now we're going to see, even if you're going to take a ladder. See, Mr. Bitesh, if you put up a ladder to go onto that, it also wouldn't be good, because the sukkah is resting on the tree. So even if you won't climb directly up the tree, right, Mr. Silverman, but you're actually, the sukkah is only existing because of the leaning on the tree, and without the tree, the sukkah will fall down. So that would make it that you cannot go ahead and use the sukkah, even though you might have, technically, even if you were in the sukkah, morning, even if you were in the sukkah before, we have a nice seat for you over here, Shimon. Even if you were in the sukkah before Yom Tov, you will not only you can't go up in the sukkah on Yom Tov, you can't remain in the sukkah on Yom Tov, even if you were there earlier, because you are using the tree. and you can't use tree on Yom Tov or on Shabbat. And why can't you use a tree on Yom Tov and Shabbat? Because they're afraid the rabbis are here to protect us. And what are the rabbis saying? If you're going to go ahead and you're going to use the tree, you might come to pull off a branch from the tree. So therefore the rabbi said, and that's also, you're going to go ahead, if you ride on an animal, you might come ahead and take a branch off a tree to use to help you lead the animal or direct the animal. So you can't go ahead and ride on a camel. You can't go up on a camel on Yom Tov. You can't go up on a tree on Yom Tov. But Chol Hamoed, the intermediate days of the holiday, where it's not Yom Tov, it's a quasi, you call it a quasi Yom Tov. Certain things are allowed and certain things are not allowed. This would not be a problem if a guy would go ahead and if a person would go ahead and take a branch off the tree on Chol Hamoed for the purpose of leading an animal, that would not be a problem of, Chol Hamoed, we don't go ahead and do harvesting on Chol Hamoed. We don't harvest our field on Chol Hamoed. There's certain things we don't do on Chol Hamoed. But if I want to use the animal, I'm using for transportation. I want to take off a branch to the purpose of leading the animal. That would not be a problem. So, or using a tree and a Chol Hamoed, it's not a problem. So therefore, I'm allowed to go ahead and go up, use it during Chol Hamoed. Now, the Mishnah continues. Shtayim v'ilan. I went ahead and two of the walls of the Sukkah are leaning on the tree. If you look at the picture, you got there's three walls in this picture. Okay, you see the three walls. There's a wall to the left. It's open in the front. Okay, so there's no wall in the front, right, Mr. Batesh? You see that? We got a wall on the left. We got a wall on the back. And we got a wall on the right. The wall on the left field, and we'll call it left field and center field. Okay, left field is leaning on the tree, and center field is leaning on the tree. Okay, you see the bottom. You see the bottom coming out of the tree. It's coming at the bottom of the tree, and the right field, the right side, is not leaning on the tree at all. It's standing on the ground. The wall it starts from the ground and extends all the way up. So now we know the height of a wall of a sukkah has to be a minimum of 10 tvachim, minimum of 30 to 40 inches. We have to be more strict, let's say 40 inches. So you have 40 inches from the ground, that box, the ground of that box to the upwards, you have 40 inches. That's not a problem. But you have only one wall on the ground, two walls that are leaning on the what? Using the tree as its support system. The third wall is holding the ground of the sukkah it's not leaning on the tree at all. So if you have shtayim be'ilah back in the Mishnah, v'achad b'dei adam, two walls are on the tree, and one wall is b'dei adam. What does it mean b'dei adam? It's by man. It's the man-made wall that's leaning on the floor. All of the walls are b'dei adam. They're all made by human beings, but two of them, tree is supporting the walls, and one of them it's the wall that's on the ground that you placed on the ground that's supporting the wall. Ushtayim b'dei adam v'achad b'ilan. Or even good morning, Yehuda, we welcome back Yehuda Jian. Yehuda, there's a seat right here. We got a box seat. We got a box seat waiting for you. Or if you have two b'dei adam, you had two walls that were on the ground, not leaning on the background of the tree, but the ground of the floor. But one of the walls was leaning on the tree. So if one of the walls were leaning on the tree, at the end of the day, if you move the tree, the whole thing will fall down. And therefore, that's called that you're still benefiting from the tree. And therefore, on Yom Tov, you can't go into such a structure, such a sukkah on Yom Tov. You know what? Think about it. Kids like to make tree houses, right? So a child, a katan, a young boy, is obligated in sukkah. You know, if he reaches a point that he's independent, that he doesn't always need his mother, with him all the time, whatever, we'll see, there's a certain age that a child is obligated to sukkah. So he's a young boy. He wants to make his sukkah in the tree. Now the question is, can he, and is it, could he use it or not? So we say on Yom Tov, it depends. So far, the cases that we said he can't use it on Yom Tov because at least one of the three walls are resting on the ground, on the tree, and if you would remove, and therefore that's called using the tree. Now, so but you could use it on Chol Hamoed. You can't use it on Yom Tov because you're using a tree. Now, Shalosh b'dei Adam. But if there's three walls that are on the ground, not on the tree, not resting on the tree, resting on the earth, on the ground, not on a tree. If there's three, but one of the walls, he made a 4-wall sukkah, and we know you only need 3 walls for a sukkah. He made a 4-wall sukkah. 3 walls are resting on the ground. 1 wall is resting on the tree. If you remove the tree, the sukkah will still stand. So therefore, the role of the tree is insignificant. If its role is insignificant, so you could technically go into that sukkah, obviously without climbing up the tree. Get your ladder, go up in the sukkah, and you're good. And you could go into this sukkah on Yom Tov. And then the Mishnah, good morning. The Mishnah says now on Chav Gimel Amud Aleph, 23a, 8-1. Zeh klal. This is the rule. If you would take the tree away, and the sukkah would be able to stand without the tree, that sukkah is kosher for all of Yom Tov, and you're allowed to go inside that in Yom Tov. Okay, that ends the Mishnah. Mani Matnisa, the Gemara says, who is the author of our Mishnah? Meaning to say, the Mishnah made a statement, a blanket statement, meaning to say, without giving a name, it says it anonymously. And it just says, as if matter of factly, that if you go ahead and you make a sukkah on the top of a ship, you're good. And would seem, usually there's such a concept called halacha istam mishnah. The law is like the mishnah that's written anonymously. You didn't tell me there's any argument in it. So unless you have another mishnah that maybe, there are certain rules that to follow with is there next mishnah that identifies the argument or not. But if we have a mishnah that just says a law without identifying the rabbi, and we don't find any other mishnah, we don't find another mishnah that says otherwise, so that would be the law. And that is the law. You can make a sukkah on top of a wagon, and you can make a sukkah on top of a boat. But the Gemara wants to tell you, you should know that this is not a unanimous opinion. Not everybody agrees to this law that we just stated matter-of-factly in our Mishnah. Mani matniten. Who was the author of Mishnah? The Gemara says Rabbi Akiva. It's the great Rabbi Akiva, and you should know, there's something called Stam Mishnah. When Rabbi Huda and Nasi, when he wrote the Mishnah, many of the Mishnayot, but he didn't write a name, it's Rav Meir, and many of them it's Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva is also one of the, when you have a Mishnah that's no author, the good chance it's from Rabbi Akiva. The Gemara says, who is Rabbi Akiva? The Tanya. We learned in a Brighton. If you make a sukkah on the top of a boat, Rabbi Gamliel posel. Rabbi Gamliel says it's not a good sukkah. Rabbi Gamliel says no good. The sukkah is not kosher. On a boat, a sukkah on a boat, no good. Rabbi Akiva machshir. And Rabbi Akiva says it is kosher. And the Gemara illustrates with a story. Ma'asav Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Akiva, shahiyaboyim b'svina. Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Gamliel were traveling together on a boat. Omad, Rabbi Akiva. And Rabbi Akiva got up. V'asa Sukkah, Rosh Hashanah. It was Sukkot. They're traveling. It's Sukkah. We gotta make a Sukkah. He goes in and he makes a Sukkah on the top of a boat because he feels you can make a Sukkah on top of a boat. It lasted for one night or one day. L'macha, the next day, Nashba B'ruach, the wind came, V'akrata, and knocked down like when we had the hurricane in the 70s, right? Many Sukkot came down in the 70s. There was, if you recall, there was a big hurricane in New York, knocked down the Sukkot, many Sukkot. So Omar Rabbi Gamliel, so Gamliel says to Rabbi Akiva, Akiva, Heichan Sukkatcha, where's your Sukkah? You went ahead, you made a Sukkah, it's gone with the wind, as they say. Where is your Sukkah? So what was he saying to Rabbi Akiva? That's not called, what you do? You think that's called a place of dirah? Meaning Sukkah has to be a dirat arai. A Sukkah has to, or at least has to be some sort of temporary dwelling. So Rabbi Gamliel said to Rabbi Akiva, that's not called a dirah. That's not called a real living. You're supposed to live in a sukkah. A sukkah that you could just be blown away with the wind. It's not considered that you made a sukkah. It's not a sukkah. It's not a place of shelter. A sukkah is a temporary shelter, but it's a temporary shelter. If a wind could come and knock it down, that's not called. So then the Gemara is going to clarify, and we'll see tomorrow, B'ez Hashem, more details of what's the issue, what type of wind are we talking about. I want to wish everyone a beautiful day. We had a beautiful crowd today. We hope that the crowd increases tomorrow. By the way, if everybody brings a friend, we'll have double the amount of people in the class tomorrow. Like that, man.
Have a great day, Rabbi. Great seeing you.
On the boat.
Okay. Maybe the boat had a lot of fuel, like wood, and the extra wood, and slats of wood. On a boat, you could take, if the boat is docked, you could go. If it's moving, I'm saying it could be you're not able. Technically, it would be a kosher sukkah, but you may not be able to go on the boat if the boat is going to be moving. Right, other issues, right?